Hey, how's it going everybody? In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Risograph poster. Before we get started, only a handful of this channel's watchers actually are subscribed to the channel, so please make sure you're subscribed. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Okay, so if we search up Risograph poster in Google Images, we see a lot of different results here. And there's a couple of things that you'll notice right off the bat. Most of them have very vibrant color palettes. You also see a lot of things like this where elements will overlay each other to create kind of an unexpected or unusual result. And then finally, there should be some sort of a grainy texture to give it kind of an unfinished or incomplete look. My goal is to show you how to achieve this effect in Photoshop without having to download any additional assets. Now, obviously, we have to start with something, so let's try to find something, maybe like a person or something, say woman, white background, and we'll just kind of see what we have here. There are some good things we've got here. I like this image right here, so we'll save that one, and then let's try to do something maybe like a summer type of thing. So we'll say like pool water. I like the kind of jarriness and harshness of this one, so we'll go with this one. And I think that these two will mesh really well together. So I'm gonna go full size with this image. I'm gonna copy it. And here in Photoshop, I'm gonna create a new document. It's gonna be 18 by 24 inches with a resolution of 300. All right, let's go ahead and paste this image in here. And what we're gonna do is just kind of enlarge it a little bit. I want it to be a little bit kind of off center. We'll figure out the exact composition of this later. And then we'll go here to this pool water image and we'll just copy this right here. I kind of like the idea of like covering up her face with the water, because what I'm thinking the message for this poster is that maybe we'll put this right up here, almost as if she's kind of thinking about pool water. And since I'm kind of envisioning this being like summer on her mind, we can have the poster say, is it summer yet? So we're gonna be working a lot with blending modes in Photoshop. So the first step that we're gonna take to kind of get this Risograph look is we're gonna blend the pool water with the image of the model here. And there's a lot of different looks that we can go for in Photoshop with our blending modes. So I really like lighten, that's actually kind of cool, but I'm wanting something that's a little bit more vibrant and dramatic. Difference right here is very interesting. Of course it is inverting the colors, but that's an easy fix. We can always re-invert the colors again. Exclusion is really nice because it's helping to give a little bit more of a faded look. And subtract is cool, so I'd like to see what happens if we invert, subtract. It's a little bit too dark, so I think we're gonna do something different. So let's go back to exclusion, and I'm gonna invert the colors here. And this is really cool actually. So we can see that we've got the pool water going on right here, and all the areas, especially in the brighter areas where it's kind of overlapping on the model's face, it's also bringing out yellows and oranges, which also speaks to summer. So with something like this, it's always best to kind of experiment around and just kind of see what happens when you rotate, things like this. We can make it look like it's kind of coming out of her head or something like that. I like the fact that it's going off of the edge of the poster. That's kind of cool. And also the fact that it's overlaying one eye and not the other. That's really cool too. Although it does look like her eye is on fire right there. But overall, I think it still works. All right, and then as far as the model herself, we need to really kind of back off the realism here. So what we're gonna do is create a layer style. I'm gonna click on posterize. And 4 levels is a little too much, so we're gonna bring it down to 3. And we could probably even bring it down to 2. That's gonna give even more contrast there. And with the way that these colors are already, it's really helping to reinforce the whole idea of summer. Although I wonder what it would look like if we brought posterize above the water right here. This is interesting as well, although I don't think it's immediately recognizable as pool water, so I think we'll leave it without it. Plus, I like the idea of those separations where you have that posterized image and then a photorealistic image as well. All right, and then for the type, I'm gonna go in here and just type out, is it summer yet, in Illustrator. And I really like the idea of going with this 8-bit type of font here. I'm not gonna really worry about kerning here because in something like this, you actually want it to appear imperfect. So I'm gonna leave the kerning at auto, and I'm gonna space out the tracking just a little bit. And I think that's really cool looking. All right, so I'm gonna create outlines here, and I'm gonna hit copy. We're gonna paste this into Photoshop as a smart object. You almost always wanna paste it as a smart object. That way, if you ever wanna go back and edit it later, it's much easier to do it. All right, then for the type right here, I'm thinking that what we'll do is do like a pink color, because that's also very summery. And I'm thinking maybe like a hot pink, but maybe we can kind of dial back the saturation a little bit, because in just a minute we're going to add a couple of overlays right here, and we're going to kind of soften up that background color a little bit too. So I like this bubblegum pink that we've got going on here, so we'll hit OK. And then what I'd like to do here is maybe go slightly off the page to where you can still tell that that is a question mark, and I'll just kind of go right there. All right, overall this is looking really cool, so let's go ahead and start adding our effects. Okay, so since I'm happy with the way that the model looks right here, I'm going to select the image of the model and the posterized layer, and I'm going to hit Command or Control E. And what that's going to do is merge those two layers together, and we're no longer going to have that layer style applying to the image of the model. So now what we can do is we'll just rename this model. And let's go over here to Select and Color Range. And let's select just the highlights. I'm going to hit Command or Control J on my keyboard. And we're just going to call this background. And let's go right here and click on Lock Transparent Pixels. And that's going to allow us to color in this layer right here to something that's not 100% white, so we can actually see those grainy effects when we add them in. So I'm going to grab my brush tool, and we're going to go over here to the size and increase it all the way, go up to hardness and increase that all the way to 100. And now let's go over here to our color picker, and I'm going to select something that's kind of close, maybe around 95%, and hit OK. And I'm just going to color in this area right here. And now lastly, we'll change the blending mode from normal to darken. Okay, so now we're going to go to our top layer, and I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to call this grain, and I'm going to hit Shift and Delete on my keyboard, and we're going to fill this with 50% gray, and hit OK. Now we're going to go up here to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and I'm going to crank the grain up all the way to 100, and for the size, I'm going to do 50, and for the roughness, I'm going to do 75, and hit OK. All right, so this is what our grain looks like up close, and now I'm going to do another layer and call this noise. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to fill it with 50% gray, hit OK, and now go up to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. And for the grain, since we did like a larger amount, this time with the noise, I'm going to do like a smaller, finer amount. So as you can see, we have a lot more pixel density when it comes to noise than we do with grain. And now I'm going to hit OK. And now just temporarily, I'm going to turn off noise. And let's go over here and change the blending mode of the grain to overlay. And if you look especially in these lighter areas, you can see where we have that texture showing through, but it's not quite enough yet. So that's where our noise comes in. And now we'll just change this to overlay right here. And it has much more of a risograph look to it. And now I'm going to go back to this background color, and let's actually darken it a little bit. Let's bring it down to 90. And now let's fill it with that color, and you can see that texture really showing through more. And let's take a look at it over on this side as well. This is looking really cool. Okay, so we have the grain look and we have the vibrant colors look. However, there's one thing that's missing, and that's all the imperfections. Okay, so for this step, we actually do need an extra asset, and I'll be sure to include this in the description for you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click and drag this image into this image. And we wanna make sure that it's underneath noise and grain, because we want the noise and the grain to also apply to the technique that we're about to do. So let's stretch this all the way across our canvas here. And now with this dust and scratches layer selected, let's go up here to Select and Color Range. And we're going to make sure we have shadows selected and hit OK. And with that active selection, we're going to select our artwork layer. And we're going to hit Command or Control J. And now we can hide our original artwork and hide the black layer, and you can see all those imperfections there. And one last thing that we want to do is add a solid color layer on top of here. And we'll bring this down to about 80%, and then we'll change the blending mode to soft light. And if you want your artwork to fade a little bit more into the paper, click on your artwork layer and just lower the opacity to around 90%. All right, and here's our finished risograph poster. I hope I taught you something today in Illustrator or Photoshop. If I did, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.